Hello and welcome back to Wiltshire, this time very clearly in the depths of winter. So I thought I'd start by answering a question that was asked on the forum, which was, does Disney provide your weather? Is it ever anything than glorious sunshine at the Acreage? Well, as you can see from this monsoon weather, we're fairly exposed, and when it rains, my does it rain. Yes, we're getting our fair share this year. Although even in this weather, I think there's a certain beauty to that landscape.
Back on more familiar territory today. Now, you may be thinking, what's he doing talking to me about a lawnmower in December? Well, I haven't gone completely barking, but the Ambrogio mower arrived in July this year. So we haven't had a full cutting season, but we've had most of a cutting season. And I thought it would be good to look back and say what difference it's made, not really relating to the lawns. What's the difference in having a robot mower and what does it change? We've had two changes at the Acreage this year. We installed solar panels and we changed to a robot mower. And both of them in different ways have been fairly transformational. So the first thing that I've noticed is no more mower guilt. I've got my lawn life balance back. Those of you who don't have large amounts of grass to mow will probably think, what is he talking about? But if you do have large lawns, you'll know that they start to dominate your available time. So I would constantly be looking out for a window where the rain was off, where the sun was just about right, where the grass was dry enough. All of that has gone. And the time that has freed up was much more than I'd anticipated. I also didn't really realise that it got me quite stressed. So although if you go to your GP and say my blood pressure's up a bit, they're not going to give you a mower. But actually it's helped me just relax a lot more in the garden, and I don't have everything dominated by whether I can cut the lawns. And the flip side of that is, if I haven't been able to cut them, I don't feel that guiltiness. Many of you, I think, will associate with that. That took me completely by surprise, and it's a real bonus of having a robot mower. The second of the gifts, well, holidays. I've been away on an extended holiday. I've had a couple of long weekends, and coming back from an extended break usually means long overgrown grass, cutting again with the box off and then having to rake all the stuff up. Don't have to worry about it. Completely handled by Ambrose, who does his own thing whilst we're away, and for the first time ever I've come back to lawns that looked as good as they did before we left. And the third gift is probably the one that you'd expect me to talk about most first, but it's almost the least important of this collection, and that is the lawns look great in the cutting season, much better than they did before.
And here you can see an excerpt from the second video where I show you the difference between the two lawns before and after the arrival of Ambrogio. Before is on the left and after is on the right. And you can just see that the grass is tighter, it's greener on the right hand side. And as we turn round, you'll start to see a view across towards the hills. And I'll stop at roughly the same point, and you'll just see that the quality of the grass on the right and the look of the lawn is just miles better. Surprise additional gift, they look just as good in the out of cutting season. This isn't going to win any major prizes, but this hasn't been cut for 8 weeks, and the main reason it looks so good is because you can extend the lawn season. The lighter mower can get on earlier and stay on later, so you go into the winter with the lawns already in better condition, and I just know that means the first cut in the spring is going to be a lot easier.
Of course, there are going to be some challenges this coming season. Behind me is a large paddock. We're going to move the mower down into there and extend the area so that it can cut that too, which is more challenging terrain. But we'll definitely have some clips and videos showing how well or not we get on in doing those. So if you like these videos, please subscribe somewhere at the bottom down there or there. And you can get more of these as we move into the paddock and as we look at how we've done handling trees, how we've got from one level to another, all of those things that you will need to do if you get an Ambrogio mower into a more difficult type of garden. So now on to the next of those gifts. I'd like you to meet Huey, Louie and Dewey. These are the green recycling bins that my local authority use to take away rubbish, and until Ambrogio came along, then 3 of these would be full of grass clippings. They cost £60 a pop each year. This is before Ambrogio, and this is after, so £120 saving. Now, that's not the gift. The gift is no grass clippings, and that makes a huge difference. And they're small enough that they don't get trodden into the ground, they just get taken down into the grass, and the grass looks all the better for it. An additional gift, wildlife. 2 things have happened since the new mower has arrived. The kestrels have arrived and the voles have disappeared. I don't think those are unrelated. I suspect that what's happened is that the grass is kept consistently lower and the longer grass had disappeared and the cover for the voles has gone, the kestrels have come in, and I am now vole free, and long may it continue. In addition, a new gift, I'm more environmentally friendly. You'll remember I said we had solar panels installed at the acreage. Well, since July, to misquote Katrina and her waves, I've been mowing on sunshine. There have been no emissions, I haven't bought any petrol, and I'd usually spend around £50 a season, and it's super environmentally friendly. It's also much, much quieter. That you can't get across on the videos. It's virtually silent when you're about 8 feet away. The next gift is you get your lawn back. The lawns are constantly available. So we've had people over, lawns are always cut. You want to go and just go out and enjoy the lawn, you can. It just means that the lawn is not an issue. That's the bottom line. The next gift is one that we'll all treasure, and that's the gift of time. I've calculated that I've spent 48 hours less mowing the lawn this year, and I've spent those 48 hours on doing other things. Not least of which has been getting a bit fitter. I've been out on my bike a lot more, and so I'm feeling much better, even though I'm doing less mowing. We've also had a really bumper crop of stuff in the vegetable garden this year, and I've managed to make a number of jellies and jams and the occasional bit of Bullis vodka and gin too. Now, that's stuff that I didn't manage to do to the same extent last year, and I suspect that's where some of those 48 hours have gone. So in terms of getting the most out of the garden, it's been a real bonus to have Ambrose along. And the last of the gifts that we've got is perhaps the most important if you've got a garden. It's brought some fun back into the space. Talking point for neighbours. We had a barbecue in the summer, and one of the guests thought it would be a really good idea if he could train Ambrose to deliver drinks. Didn't happen. So you've got to keep a check on a few people, but it's brought some fun back into the space, and that's really what a garden's for. So it's been a great success. Now you'll notice that behind me, although it's getting darker, the monsoon has passed and we're back to a little brighter weather, and that indicates that spring is just around the corner. So, as well as those gifts, a few things that change. 4 things I'll mention to you. The first is clearing the lawn. Now, before, when I used to cut the lawn, you'd go around and make sure that any debris was clear. You do have to do that, but a little bit more regularly. You have to be aware that Ambrose is out and cutting to the schedule, and so whilst I'm not mowing, I am thinking, is the surface clear of major obstructions? Now that's a different task and it's far less onerous, but it's one that you do need to keep on top of. However, it has the side effect that it keeps the areas broadly tidy, and they're already then ready to be used whenever you need them, and the lawn's just managed in the background. The second is the perimeter wire. Now, I don't need to think about it. I know it's there, but you can forget it once it's down. But if I was doing some work towards the end, then I have to be conscious that about a foot in, there is a wire around the perimeter. But again, that's just something that you might want to consider if you're doing gardening work on a day-to-day basis. You can forget it completely. The third change is the annual service. Now, I know many people who maybe skip a year between servicing their mower. That's very difficult, I think, to do on a robot mower. The reason for that is it's software driven, and every year and in multiple times, sometimes during the year, there will be updates to the software. And so in the service, that's when that gets updated and brought up to the latest version. So it's important that you have that done annually. So I'm treating the annual service as a mandatory step rather than an optional one. And that way I can keep Ambrose performing on tip-top form. And the last point, it's not so much a change in behaviour, but it's just I've noticed that I've had to solve a few problems, work out how we're going to get from one lawn to the other, work out how we're going to get down into the paddock, how do we manage trees. All of those will be available on the site in small clips to tackle those particular issues. But it's kept my brain turning over, and actually it's been a great deal of fun. So would I recommend a robot mower, and particularly the Ambrogio 4.0 four-wheel drive if you've got this type of terrain? Absolutely. It's been a godsend, and the second half of last season went brilliantly. I'm really looking forward to an entire cutting season, and then we can see exactly how well it does. Next video I'll pick up on the first cut of the spring. See, the lawns are starting to get a little bit longer. We'll see how we can tackle that first cut and gradually bring it down to manageable levels. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.